I have my opinion, you have yours. I'm probably wrong, but it doesn't matter. I am recording. Yes, I am recording. I have my opinion, you have yours. I'm probably wrong, but it doesn't matter. I am recording. Yes, I am recording. I have my opinion, you have yours. Oh, that would have been weird.
Hello, hello. Okay.
Check, check.
Seeing the hello, hello. Okay.
Check, check.
Yeah. So in the Google Meet, it's my microphone, and then in OBS it was nothing. So all right. Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
We have another very special episode. We have the 1972 movie The Getaway. Came out December 19th, 1972. Nathan, do you have a history with The Getaway?
Kind of. I mean, I've done like Sam Peckinpah retrospectives, like watching all his movies, and I do remember watching this once about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And also because it was a Steve McQueen movie, and and they always, this Ali McGraw's in it. She was a big hottie from the 70s. Uh
Yeah, the reason I picked this movie is I saw like all the names associated with it, and I'd never even heard of or seen the movie, so I was like, oh, let's do that. Because even though like I like know more like about the milieu of Sam Peckinpah more than I've seen any of his movies. Like I like seeing like half of Wild Bunch, and but I know more about it, like more just kind of the mythos around it, and like half of Straw Dogs.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, I believe I think like Quentin Tarantino was kind of my entree into the world of Sam Peckinpah,
yeah,
because he'd always talk about him a lot, and it's like, I like his movies. I'm gonna, so I never really took movies seriously until I was like in my 20s. Like, and I mean, there's some I liked for sure.
yeah,
But I just never. I was more into music and stuff, and it was like, oh, okay. And I liked Quentin Tarantino's movies a lot, especially like his first three. And I was like, oh, well, if this guy likes this, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, there's some a lot of cool stuff here. Um, so yeah, I've seen all of Sam Peckinpah's movies.
oh, they're definitely interesting. You know, well, yeah, because like I think he was like, I thought he was like the first guy to bring squibs to movies, but apparently they've been around since the 50s. But I'm guessing like the slow motion violence was kind of like he was one of the first people to do that.
Yeah, he was. I think because he started out with westerns,
Yeah,
and I think by the Wild Bunch, he was definitely someone who was going in because it wasn't like a lot of westerns were like, ow, it's like, oh, he got me. In the Wild Bunch, like people fall back, like they're taking damage, the blood looks weird, it's violent, it explodes outwards, and he's filming and showing that in a way of like, yeah, these people are dying, they're being killed, they're being shot to death. It's not like, go on without me, I'll fend them off. No, it's people are screaming. They don't want to die. It's like, yeah, that's a little different.
um,
And then by the time you get to like Straw Dogs, it's just like, oh, I am into the psychology of violence. Um,
cinematographer is Lucien Ballard, who he's just kind of a he's mostly just worked for Sam Peckinpah mostly. That's most of his stuff he's known for. So
yeah, everything has that look.
yeah. Um, and it was a Jim Thompson novel. I'm not sure if you ever read the novel. I don't even know the Jim Thompson books, but I've read the novel. So But the name that picked up for me is that it was adaptation by Walter Hill. So
Yeah, I guess Jim Thompson was originally hired to do the script treatment,
okay,
and they were like, one of the problems this movie has, or one of the things about this movie, I don't think it's a problem, is it kind of oscillates between the 50s and the 70s. Like you don't know what era you're in,
yeah,
kind of, which is weird for considering the other movies that were out around this time is like definitely are in the 70s, where this movie sort of kind of oscillates between a few different time periods. It seems to, it doesn't, but it just seems that
yeah.
way.
Well, yeah, it was definitely kind of a Bonnie and Clyde vibe going on.
Yeah.
But
I got a
then,
lot of No Country for Old Men out of this too.
oh, the last act of the movie is completely all No Country for Old Men. But also, like Walter Hill did another movie did here called Extreme Prejudice, which is
Yes.
it's also that.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, for everyone who thinks that's a great movie, and it is, it's like, oh, there's a lot of other movies you can watch where it's like, wait a minute, I know this. Yeah, they borrowed from all the best stuff ever, and had a Cormac McCarthy novel to work with, like instant Oscar. Just add water, stir it up.
The cast, of course, is Steve McQueen, Ally McGraw, and Ben Johnson. Which I think is that the guy who plays Rudy? That seems
I
like the
believe
other
so,
big
yes.
character in this movie. So, let's see here.
No, Al Lettieri
Okay,
is the guy who plays Rudy.
who the hell is Ben Johnson?
He played because the guy who played Rudy died not long after this movie came out.
Oh, he's or how do you say it? Binion?
Yeah, Banyan.
Binion. Okay.
Yeah, Banan. I forget. They said it. They say it like it doesn't sound like it's spelled.
Yeah. No, like it's how it's spelled is like Bainon, but they say like Binion.
Yeah, which probably is true. It sounds French.
Yeah. He was. Yeah, I'm guessing he was just a bigger name because he's out of the movie fairly early. So, so yeah, I guess I don't have any more background. Oh, yeah. So we have Act One. Where are we? There's my notes. We got dogs barking. Yeah, the opening's really weird. It's like there's like three things they're cutting in between, and I have no idea what time place they take in. And there's just a bunch of random images too. We got dogs barking and horses neighing, a freeze frame of a deer, and then a reveal of a prison being surrounded by the deer.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but it's cool.
And then you got like these industrial sewing machine noises that start to bleed. It's like,
Yeah.
I have no idea what this is supposed to mean.
Oh, I know exactly what it means. It's called going insane with boredom. The mechanical rhythm of boredom.
Yeah.
Hell is about repetition. I think I learned that from the Bible. I'm not sure, but yeah, this is definitely it's a really, like, you would never do this now, but when you see what it leads to and how it pays off in about 10 minutes, it's like, oh, that's actually
well,
kinda cool.
you're rushing through their backstory in the most interesting way you can. So
Yeah.
So we got Doc McCoy, played by Steve McQueen. Not a big fan of the name Doc McCoy. I'm like, there's already a Dr. McCoy.
Yeah. I noticed that too. It's like, is he gonna make some reference to Star Trek? But it didn't happen.
Actually, when did the book come out? Because I imagine Star
The
Trek.
book came out before Star Trek, but this came out
okay.
after.
Okay, that makes.
But I
sense.
don't know if the target audience would be into that kind of humor. I don't know if they were culture jamming in the 70s and Sam Peckinpah movies, but it would be funny if they did.
So yeah, Doc is a prisoner being led away by a guard. Actually, is Doc just a name, or is that always supposed to be like short for doctor? Like, doesn't she call him doctor at some point? And I have no idea why.
I don't
Unless
know.
his name is just actually Doctor.
No, his name's Carter.
Okay.
I don't know what I always assumed like the Doc McCoy was like a reference to Doc Holliday.
Oh, okay.
Like he's a gunman, or he's a smart guy, but he also likes to shoot people. He's like one of those But that's all I got out of it because of the background of westerns that everyone
Yeah.
was in. So that's what I got out of it, and I never
Okay.
researched it beyond that. So
Um, so they show his parole got denied after 4 years. Um, and it's back to the textile factory where like Doc is like contemplative. There's like this focus on the machine's handle where I was like, is that going to be fashioned into something? Is he going to like hurt himself? And then
is his hand going into that machine?
yeah, nothing happens.
No, but it's just someone going crazy.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I've got 6 more years of this.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain that, but realize they're cutting between like 4 different movies
Yeah, yeah.
in this moment.
It's weird. If you just went into this with no background, you'd be like, what the hell's going on? Like, it's.
I noticed that Quincy Jones did the music for this movie, so that's kind of
Yes.
interesting.
He was supposed to do the music for Bullet too,
Oh, okay.
but there was a conflict. And now, if you try to imagine Bullet without the soundtrack that was with it, it wouldn't be the same movie. So it's like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, every time like a title pops up, like it's a freeze frame.
Yeah.
Which is interesting and discordant. So I don't know if there's like there's a meaning here, or if it's just like Sam Peckinpah playing around, or it could be his editor. Like maybe the editor was taking the lead on weird stuff here. So, Doc is in his prison cell and he's looking at a picture on a wall of his wife, which I guess you wouldn't know that, but I read the book, so I know that. So, yeah, there's a bunch of things that are intercutting between, like the industrial weaver, time with his wife, and then like running a bunch of inmates to a tractor with a bunch of trailers behind it to go do a job where they're like cutting up brush and burning it or something.
Yeah. Some kind of hellish Texas hobby ranch stuff. I think he's in Huntsville prison in Texas.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they're working in the field. They're cutting wood and burning stuff, and then we're intercutting with Doc building a model bridge in his cell, and then he just like crushes it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there before. It was not like it was made out of matches, but with models. I've actually crushed 2 in my life. One was a helicopter. Never built another helicopter.
Doc has a visitor, Carol McCoy, played by Ally McGraw, which I hear her name a lot. I don't know, like Patton Oswalt always uses her as a reference in like a lot of his stories of stuff, but I don't know, like I don't. It's probably the first movie of hers I've seen. I know she was in that Love Story movie, which came out in the 70s and was like it was the top grossing movie of that year.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
She must have been a big enough star, but like I really don't. Looking at her stuff, there's not a lot of it I recognize, but her name sounds familiar. So, I think there was just kind of a rotation of these 70s hotties like Ally McGraw and Sally Fields and stuff like that, where they're kind of like, take your pick.
Well, she was married to she was married to
Well, she married him after this.
yeah, she's also married to Robert Evans, who
Yeah.
Patton Oswalt loves to reference that guy. Was the Nosferatu Coke nostril guy.
Yeah. He said he snorted so much coke off of Ally McGraw's tits that he has one bat coke nostril, whatever, something like that. What was what the hell were we talking about? Ally McGraw, and then what else was it we were talking about?
Just the cast. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget. Whatever. Yeah, she comes up to see Doc. He tells her to go tell Binion or Banin or whatever. I guess what should we land on?
Binion.
Binion.
They said Binion a lot.
Okay,
so.
that's a bin. What's that treat you get in New Orleans?
For what?
It's like it's like cinnamon and fried dough.
Banyan? I don't know.
What are those called? That's what I'm thinking. All right, let's look up New Orleans dessert.
I get like a little crown and a king cake. That's something.
Oh, beignets. That's what they're called.
Beignet. Okay, yeah. Yeah, very close.
So yeah, he says he goes to tell her, goes to Binion to say like that he's for sale at Binion's price, and you don't know now, but like I knew it from the book is that he's supposedly like just mastermind criminal who like sets up bank robberies. You don't know that yet, but that's that's what you'll eventually get, even though that's not necessarily evident. But it's fine. Carol visits Jack Binion. She takes a drink, and then it's implied that she sleeps with them because like you're immediately cutting to Doc is getting out of jail because like the parole board like had a change of heart because they're being bribed or something. Binion's guys drive up to tell him that he's got to meet with Binion like Monday or something like that. Then they just take off, and then Doc hangs around and leans on the flagpole as he waits for Carol to pick him up.
That's kind of a weird, poignant scene.
Yeah. Yeah, he's walking up the flagpole, and I was like, "What the hell is he gonna do with that? He's gonna take down the flag or do something weird?" And he's like, "Nah, it's just a leaning post." Then he's out in the open, so it's easy for someone to pull up and give him a ride. So, so Carol shows up, and there's some contention, which is basically, I think, because how these scenes interact. It's be like, "Oh, you slept with that guy, didn't you?" I don't actually know like the time difference between that happening and him getting out of jail, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's not really clear. It's not important really. It just establishes there's tension between them.
Yeah.
As characters.
They go to like a riverside or something because Doc wants to take a walk. I wrote he's either fantasizing or they did jump in the river and playfully make out. And eventually it is what happens, but like they're editing out of order here, so it's weird.
Yeah, it's like Rashomon sequence, dream sequence within the dream sequence, it's like, okay. But then it turns out no, they did it.
They get home. He immediately wants whiskey. Well, yeah, I guess the riverside's weird because I'm like, they're at a beach, but I'm like, well, there's no sand or anything. It's just like, it's like a beach. It's near a body of water. It's just all grass and trees, though. So
it's Texas. It's a hellhole.
Okay.
It's best you get. It's like an oasis and just a land of bitter cruelty. I should have never been to Texas, but it seems very hot.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, Texas is big, so the climate can be very different, especially if the closer you are to the Gulf and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I need places where it's like dark at 4 and it's bitterly cold half the year. That's when I'm in my element.
It's probably in the top of Texas where like nobody lives. Yeah. It's probably wherever the Demolition Ranch guy is. Where he's 4 hours every way from civilization. That's how he can have a Barrett 50. Or now he can have machine guns. They filled out all the paperwork, so now they're like a class 1 whatever FFL certified like thing. And so they can get machine guns so that if a cop wants to come by to demonstrate a machine gun, is like, hey, we should get these. They can do that, and he can do that. So.
Well, I mean, he's a smart guy. I like it when the celebrities randomly show up on that. It's like they had that wrestler Goldberg.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna just stand and shoot a 50 cal, like a belt-fed 50 caliber or something.
Yeah.
It's because he's big enough he can actually do that. Yeah, but I mean, does that do Demolition Ranch any good? Because you can't do full auto on YouTube anymore, can you?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just a demonetized thing or like you can't show it. But
well, I thought you could show it.
No, there's always kind of weird things where they get around or whatever. Because there was supposed to be. Because he was like, whenever they'd bring out the 50 cal, they get like the what do you call that? Like the tips that ignite or whatever.
Yeah.
And like apparently that wasn't allowed on YouTube, and like he'd always say something about like, yeah, these are non-igniting tips when they clearly are. And then they'd shoot it anyways, like, oh, something happened. So, and then like a few weeks later, apparently it's not a thing anymore. Oh, that's always the rules thing with YouTube, is that like they'll tell you something's wrong with your channel, but never exactly what it is. It's up to you to nebulously figure out what rule you're breaking or not. So
And why is that? Do they just have machine intelligences mitigating that, and there's no human interaction? And then if you complain enough, a human gets involved, and they're like, "No, that's fine." I don't
well,
understand. But
well, when somebody like ends up like murdering somebody and they ask in court, "Where did you learn this?" and then YouTube comes up, it's like they have to at least pretend that like we tried to keep this information out of the
okay.
public.
Yeah, the old murder tips from YouTube. Forgot about those.
Yeah, because like even like Forgotten Weapons, which is more about like the history of a weapon. Like they even ran aground of some stuff because like basically every episode you're showing somebody how to take apart and put together a weapon. So this is how the weapon works. It's all that stuff. So
Yeah, that's because Forgotten Weapons about the most mild. Like if there's a political agenda there, I don't know. I don't see it. I mean, I'm sure there is, like in the back of my mind, but it's like that guy is so into like, oh, the machining that went into the, it's like that's just his whole thing.
yeah.
It's just like guns are sexy and I like them. I have no agenda. I'm not talking about overthrowing the government. I just like to shoot an antique gun into a, hole in the ground or whatever, whatever he's doing that day.
I'm a good person with a gun. I should be allowed to do these things.
We're gonna fire a Pac 40 today. And they do it and like, oh my God, how did those guys not have concussions? It's like, oh, they did. they were crazy by the end of World War II.
But so Carol and Doc get home and he immediately wants whiskey. There's like some weird pause, but then they walk upstairs to the bedroom. He's wondering if she's been with anyone else while he's been in prison. And then she just says, well, it's been a long time. So
Yeah.
the answer is yes.
Or she should have thrown it around like, you've been with guys in prison too. That didn't come up. No, notice when he asks for whiskey, all the whiskey she brings back. She brings like 4 bottles out.
Oh, okay.
Hands him a shot glass. It's like, yeah, this is how the men drink.
Well, yeah, there's one she gives him the shot glass and he kind of like grabs her and then just takes the whole bottle. And then he doesn't drink either.
Yeah, you don't see him drunk.
She sits down on the bed and undresses. Doc is like nervous and awkward about the moment, almost like it isn't real. It's like, this can't be happening. So,
which is actually kind of cool for a movie like this with tough guy actors, where he's like, this naked woman's making me nervous. And she's my wife. It's not just someone I met.
Yeah. These are more interesting, less obvious choices for a scene like this. So
yeah,
that's why it's great. Even though it's weird. It's like,
it's just not what you expect.
Yeah, it's like, why aren't the cool people fucking? It's like, because that's not what this is about.
Yeah. these are people with depth. And there's all kinds of like, she slept with other men. You're a professional criminal who is in prison for robbing people with guns. It's like, of course, who's being held to a standard of honor here exactly? And it does ask those questions in your mind.
Then we cut to morning. Doc is cooking breakfast. All this food looks awful.
Yeah. This is how
it's like quarter cut onions and eggs. It looks really bad.
And I'm gonna squirt ketchup on it and laugh.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a Budweiser at 7 a.m. It's like, yeah, it's a wonderful life, dude. This is obviously a guy who knows nothing about cooking. Or it's how people ate in the 50s. I don't know which.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always heard tale of like 70s cuisine was awful.
Oh, it was terrible, especially in America. We had we literally boiled everything until like the 80s.
Yeah.
From like the 30s to the 80s. Yeah, you just boil it. It's like, oh.
Like the only interesting kind of like cuisine that came out of the 70s was like fondue. And even
fondue. And that's from Sweden.
Yeah. And even that's just like garbage of like, oh, we got some leftover cheese. Just throw it all in a bowl and melt it. And we got some dry bread. Just dip it in the cheese.
Yeah, put some beer in there.
Yeah, put some beer in there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a funny meme thing I used to follow on Facebook. It was called Food of the 70s. because they would have like, you know, because it was always like, it was basically like a TV dinner, but for a family. And the food, the greens were bright greens. Like no broccoli ever should look like that. And like I just took like a neon green from my kit and just, and then we're going to like encase that in gelatin. It's like a meat jello. It's like, that sounds like hell. And then the 80s came along and we started like, it's a lot of Mexican food. And
Yeah.
I also used to fry a lot of stuff, which actually frying is weird. I've learned because it like everything, how you respond to the food is weird because like you thirst for more of it, but actually everything tastes almost the same when you fry it. It's weird. It's like
Yeah.
a flavor killer.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you just bread it and fry it, and it's like, and everything tastes great, but it also tastes the same. Like there's no
Yeah.
variation unless you're frying like peppers or something, you know. It's but even then it's like dulls the flavor of everything.
Yeah, because you know, well, not sure famously, I hate onions to a very extreme, and like I can eat onion rings,
Yeah.
but there's even sometimes there's like that part where you eat into an onion ring and you like kind of slurp out the whole onion rather than getting some of the breading with it. Then it's kind of like,
Is that a texture thing? Like, was that just a tapeworm? What happened?
Oh, it's texture, taste, chemical reaction. It's everything.
Yeah.
I hate onions, and it's like, and people like insist that like, no, you're just not eating it right or something. Like because and like, you know, like I can do salsa, it's fine, but even if like you do chunky and like if you get a bit too much onion in, it's like, but like usually that's because like the tomato will neutralize the onion,
Yeah.
but still the texture is bad to me. Like there's something about where it crunches and like dissolves at the same time. It just feels like two pieces of skin coming together and then like squirting an acidic thing, and then you're just eating more skin. It's like it's bad. It's everything about it I hate.
Am I eating an alien egg carapace? What is this? No, see, I'm that way with mushrooms.
Yeah.
But the thing with mushrooms is, like the flavor, I don't enjoy them raw, but I don't mind them cooked into things. But I'm talking about the like, oh, I just ate a double helping of chipotle, like gastro problems I'll have later, only happens with mushrooms. So it's like I don't hate the mushroom, but I avoid them because I will literally be on the toilet for like 2 hours. It's like, yeah, I know there's only one bathroom in the house. That sucks, but I'm not getting up. It's that bad. It's like, so I just avoid them. But yeah, it's like the same thing. Like fried mushrooms are great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like who has okra, but fried okra, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I was eating like raw okra.
Yeah. What's the other thing? More onion hate I need to bring for
Onion rage.
Well, also like once you get that taste in, like then it ruins everything else too. It's like, yeah, it's because there's always that thing like, you know, get something from McDonald's and it's like, well, just pick off the onions, and then like, okay, I do that, but I've already eaten an onion, and now just everything afterward is still gonna have this onion taste. It's like, no, you don't understand. This ruins everything. And there's like this new, really cool Mexican restaurant that just came here, and like they only make like two things that don't have onions in it. And people are always like, just tell them not to put onions in it. It's like, no, you don't understand. These places are busy. They put onions in everything. They're not going to follow the order of like, don't put onions in it. They're just going to make it the same way they make everything else. And of course I put it in the order, said no onions, and of course it was full of onions.
Yeah. It's like asking for a burrito with no wrap. It's like, it's not going to happen. It's core to all their cooking. Every authentic Mexican thing I make, I'm cutting up an onion because that's what it calls for.
Yeah, I got a California burrito, and like it was kind of weird. It was really good, but it was like weirdly proportioned. They didn't like mix it all the way through. It was almost like sectioned off of different stuff. So
it was like a burrito, a flavored tube.
Yeah.
Here's that, here's this, here's that.
So it was a California burrito. So like the front I started with had like, it was just French fries, and then it's like steak. And so like that's cool. And then you get to the guacamole tube and steak. And then eventually towards the end, it was like all just like onion guacamole, and then I just had to stop eating it and throw it
Yeah.
away.
This is where my path ends. We've moved through the steak guacamole into the onion zone. And here's where I bid adieu.
I can do like onion powder fine, so it's I like the taste of that. Even sour cream and onion, like Pringles. Like to me, that would sound like, well, that seems awful, but of course it's not an onion. It's just this weird powder flavor. So
Yeah. What about green onions? How do you feel about those?
those are fine. They still don't. They're fine. They're inoffensive enough. There is still kind of something there where it's like, I don't like. I mean, I've always meant to try shallots. Because I heard it's like
powerful.
Yeah, I just have no idea what the texture or the taste is, so I have no idea. But
I wouldn't describe it as onion-like. I've used it a few times in cooking. I can't. It's like, well, you put a shallot in there.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, wow.
But there is like sometimes like I think like a yellow onion, like I'm more receptive to. I think of like those just straight the white onions are always just no.
Yeah. My trick with chili, because Grayson kind of feels the same way about whole onions, chunky onions.
Yeah.
My trick with chili is I cut them. I do put 2 onions in every thing of chili I make, but I cut them very fine. Like it takes me the longest prep time with the onions. And by the time that chili's done, it's vaporized.
You're doing that. You're doing that shit from Goodfellas.
Not quite a razor blade, but yeah, I'm using a Kiraki Japanese cooking knife, and it's like,
oh, okay.
But I can actually like keep your fingers away from it.
Get one of those like, yeah, or you can get even dangerous. Get one of those mandolins that can slice it so it's like translucent.
Yeah. Yeah, these hands are not steady enough to be passing those things around.
Yeah.
Like there goes the tip of my finger.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I was every YouTube video where someone shows off a mandolin. They're like, "Look at this amazing stuff," but also like, watch your fingers because like this is like one of the most dangerous things in the kitchen.
Look, as I get older and in this business I work in, I can't tell you. I'm the only guy I know. There's a few other guys that has all 10 of these. Even in the modern world, there's usually a guy that's got like half one of these missing. This one's gone, or I'm the only one that has them all. And believe me, it's a near thing. I've almost lost some before, but yeah, sometimes I don't.
If I ever got a mandolin, I'm gonna treat it like a table saw, where you got like little pusher rods and stuff like that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm not getting my fingers near that thing.
Well, most of the guys I know who have missing fingers, it's like, how'd that happen? Circular saw. It's like, because I have a miter saw, and it's like, and that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, I hold it with my hand, but if the cut's here, like my hand's over here, and sometimes I'll just use the clamp because they put safety clamps on them, and sometimes I'll just clamp it up because I know how quick that goes through a 4x6. It's like, well, this is going through my arm, no problem. Like this is just going to blow right through it, and it's going to be hell getting that reattached if it's even possible. So, but yeah, everyone I know is like, oh, I was trying to cut a limb. I was like, well, you achieve that, but I don't say it, but I'm thinking. But yeah, they're trying to like trim a tree with a circular saw. It's like that's more of a chainsaw activity. Well, chainsaws are expensive. It's like, yeah, now 3 of your fingers are missing though.
Yeah, what was that doctor's bill?
Yeah.
You could have had like 3 table saws for that money.
Or 1 chainsaw. Or you get the electric chainsaws now. For all most people need, you just need the electric ones. You know, they're not going to buck back on you. You ever had a chainsaw buck on you?
No, I don't.
Oh, that'll make you never want to use one again.
I don't think I've ever had a chainsaw.
Oh,
never
I've
used
used
a
them
chainsaw
before
so.
to cut things up. You know, and these were not like axemen, you know, ones where you got to carry it like this and it's 20 feet behind. No, these are just regular little 2-stroke ones. Yeah, I had one buck on me once. It scared the shit out of me. And I had the teeth dug into it and it still kicked it up. I was like, damn. Because it just kicks up and it's like coming right at your head. Like,
yeah.
Oh, shit.
It's the path of least resistance.
Yeah. In my head. And I was even using it like the guy told me, and it still did it. But I guess there was some kind of knot in the tree that, like, but they're fun. I mean, they're really cool. But it's like, yeah, they're dangerous as shit, though.
I always like those like stop safe table saws. Like that's always like a really cool technology. Like, oh, that thing's spinning so fast it doesn't look like it looks like a circle and not teeth anymore. It's like if it touches your hand, it'll just stop because it
Yeah, it's
senses it completes a circuit or what. But I guess nobody ever gets those because they're too expensive, and replacing it's like just get some of those pusher rods. You'll be fine.
yeah, I know they have those, but you don't see very many of them. It's like, yeah, you just use the push stick, especially the table saw. Like the miter saw, like you got to bring that down yourself.
Yeah.
Table saw is just like death coming through a table. But there's a lot you can't do with a miter saw that you can do with a table saw.
Let's see here. Doc goes to meet Binion on a restaurant boat or something.
Yeah, the weird like we're gonna drive up ride up a canal in a boat
and talk loudly about our plans to rob a bank.
Yeah, it's like, are we doing this to be coy? Because when you're in the tunnel and you're basically yelling your criminal plans through a bullhorn, it is cool how like the sound design in the movie changes when that happens. It's like, well, this is kind of neat.
Well, he's also
Makes
like
Binion seem more dangerous than he is.
Well, he's also like, this is the last time you'll see me. Like, we'll never see each other face to face again. Implying that he's like, people know him and like this is a big danger. So why not make a big spectacle of like we shouldn't be seen together, but let's make a spectacle out of it the first time.
Yeah, we want to be secret. It's like, we'll just meet in an abandoned warehouse. Don't go to the weird, Venetian canal dining experience in Texas.
Here they're talking about it's a small bank that handles cash deposits for an oil company, so they know like one's running through that they're gonna have like 750 grand in the vault. So that's why they're in the book. It's kind of interesting because they're talking about how like not every bank is with the FDIC, and so if they rob the bank, the feds won't come after them because it's not federally insured.
Oh, interesting. Who's putting their money in that bank that's not federally insured? It must be like, the crime.
Criminal enterprises.
Those banks would be getting knocked over all the time by probably by the same criminals.
Yeah. Doc meets Rudy Butler and Frank Jackson. These are two guys that Binion insists be on the job, the bank job.
Who come alongside in a weird paddle boat to talk to them.
He also mentions that they need Mexican visas and passports, which I'm not sure if they ever get. I guess I assume they get them. I don't know.
It doesn't go that far.
Yeah. So that being the end of Act 1, because like he gets out of jail, now we gotta rob a bank. Only this. Yeah, it's weird. It's like only this guy can plan the bank robbery when ultimately the bank robbery's pretty much already been planned out.
Yeah.
So we got Act 2. Doc is doing a stakeout on the bank. He's got like this weird, like tripod holding a what do you call that? Like spyglass or whatever.
Kind of monocle. It's like something a pirate ship captain would have in the Age of Sail. It's not like binoculars so he has no depth of field. It's like,
okay. And then Rudy goes and gets some gear at the hardware store, which is kind of a funny encounter. He's like, what you gonna do with this? He's like, camping. The guy's like, what? I think you're robbing a bank, sir. He's like, no, but he doesn't reach that conclusion either. He's like, okay, you're weird.
None of my business, as long as the check cashes.
There's a parade out in front of the bank. That has nothing to do with anything. I guess it's just it's either happenstance or they put that in the movie.
Yeah, I think they just wanted a lot of commotion in the scene to make it look more visually interesting.
Yeah, but do you think that was just like the city was doing that anyway, or did they like plan a parade?
No, I think they probably they probably like made a deal with the city. Hey, we're gonna stop your streets for all this time, but we'll put on a parade for everyone. Everyone can show up as extras, and they won't get paid, of course, but they get to be in a movie.
Yeah.
So we can block off the street for like 4 days or some really inconvenient shit like that.
Well, they're having the F1 race in Vegas this week. Um, I was like, oh, cool! I get to watch a race in the evening, not realizing for them they're trying to curtail like affecting the local businesses by closing down all these street, the downtown of Las Vegas. Um, they're going to start the race at 10 p.m. local time, which means it's midnight here when the race is going to start on Sunday.
Oh, okay. So no one's gonna see that then. At least no one that has to be to work on Monday.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. F1, it doesn't really matter because it depends. Like there's been like they've gotten great ratings when they've been shown at 6 a.m. here. So this might have like weird like overseas ratings because they'll like, oh, good, it's like noon. I get to watch a race. Because that's how it gets. Like when they have like races in the Middle East, it's like, oh, cool, it's a race at noon, but it's nighttime there. But yeah, it's just gonna be a weird. I'll have to get a nap in to like watch the race from midnight till about 2 a.m. and then wake up at 5 o'clock to go to work. So have to bank some sleeping time.
Yeah.
But also I got the weekend coming up, so I can like oversleep later on the weekend to make up for it. Also, Frank buys a flatbed truck for the job. We cut to Carol, goes into the bank, and she's like opening a checking account. I guess just to see what's going on.
On the bank, yeah.
Doc gets some schematics. I don't know if he pays for these or pretends to be somebody that needs schematics, but yeah, he gets some blueprints to the bank, which this guy doesn't seem suspicious of. Which
No. Just guy wearing sunglasses and a suit. Like, blueprints to the bank. Sure, how many you need?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, like Steve McQueen has some interesting sunglasses in the movie. I don't know if it became a thing, but like it's stylish in the movie.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if it's like an old thing or a new thing.
I wasn't sure of that myself.
So it cut to them. They're like, oh yeah. Here also Doc spots some cameras in the bank, so it's like, ooh, like technology. Then I cut to them. They're at a warehouse. They're going over the bank job. They're going to like blow holes in something because you see a bunch of dynamites with clocks on it strewn about, like almost comically. Like, oh, you just raid the like the Batman the TV series like props department.
Yeah, it looks like something a bad guy would hold in a movie, just like a clock with wires sticking out of it and dynamite. It's like, oh, okay.
Here, Doc suggests using a bulletproof vest, but Rudy declines, saying like he's gotten this far so without it. So, the accountant shows up. That's how he's listed in a movie database. But this is like Binion's like money guy, and so he, I guess just kind of his, not necessarily, his money guy and his guy who makes the deals and talks to the people. He's kind of like weird and dorky looking. He's got like these dark sunglasses and what does he have? A weird hat? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he had like something like like one of those hats. It was like definitely from like the '60s. That's kind of out of style by this time.
So that
little hats, not quite a full fedora, but like one of those little smaller hats.
Yeah. He hands him a stack of cash for their expenses for doing the job. Here Doc's like wants assurances for the drop off. He wants to make sure that like they're not going to just rip him off and kill him for the money. So yeah, he has some convoluted plan where it's like the money will be handed off in different places and nobody will know where it is. Doesn't necessarily come to play, but we'll keep going. We cut to Carol's driving Doc around in the back of the van. Doc is messing with the explosives and Carol stalls the truck in the middle of a road above a sewer grate. Doc gets in. He's able to get to the sewer grate like through like a hole in the floor or something. Like he doesn't get out of the car to get into. Nobody sees him go into the sewer.
Yeah, he has like a hole cut in the bottom of the van.
Yeah,
and he can apparently lift that street head up and get in there, even though those things weigh like a ton. Because you see like the drive shaft and the rear axle in the frame.
Oh, okay. Doc cuts the power to like the whole street, so then the alarms can't go off, phones won't work, and
And he cuts the power with a pair of bolt cutters, but he's wearing rubber gloves so he doesn't get shocked because he's cutting into live wire. Oh, by the way, Steve McQueen is wearing a brand called Persol 714s sunglasses.
Huh.
You can still buy them to this day. They're only like $335, which isn't crazy for
Yeah,
expensive
sunglasses. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, and they even have some called the Steve McQueen line.
Huh.
The ones that were custom made to his specs, with the special blue lens, those are $700. But yeah, so anyone who's interested.
Doc has a vest and a trench coat, and he makes his way through the back of the bank. And they show him putting on the bulletproof vest. Rudy and Frank. Oh yeah, Rudy and Frank make their way, and they just rob the bank. They have masks on. They get everybody down, and then Doc comes in later. He just kind of walks into the back door. He starts to load the cash into the bag. I wrote a cop. I guess it's just a guard. Reaches for the gun, and then Frank kills the guard. And then Frank takes off his mask because he's like, I don't know, I guess he's hyperventilating or something. Like, I just killed the guy. It's like, yeah, that seems like, yeah, let's make it even more trouble. Let's just everybody see your face after you kill the guy.
It's like you're making yourself a liability.
Frank and Rudy leave. Rudy shoots up Frank in the car and kicks him out of the car.
Yeah, the weird shoot 'em up where it's like, I'm going to shoot you in the balls first. And then, and then shoot you a whole bunch more in an enclosed car.
After, I like, he says, hey, take the wheel. So like Frank starts like driving the car while Rudy like wipes like the sweat off his brow and then pulls out the gun and shoots him to death. So, and then we cut to like a truck, the flatbed truck they got, it's full of hay. And they just blow it up somewhere. I guess as a distraction, but
all these bombs were placed strategically to create like red herrings for the cops to go for.
Yeah, but the cops are already on their way downtown, so
because people are shooting people and kicking bodies out of moving cars.
Yeah.
And there's no subtlety. You could tell it was planned to go one way.
Doc grows impatient as the cops start to show up and go out look at Frank's dead body. He like rushes like a school crossing area, and then because he's like speeding and everyone's weirded out, he's weirded out, and then the car just basically like swerves and hits everything on the way.
Yeah, like rips the front porch off of a house.
And then Doc pulls up to a waiting Rudy. They're at just some farm somewhere. Rudy has a gun behind his back. He's like, oh, he's going to betray him, but then Doc gets out and shoots Rudy before Rudy can shoot him, and then Rudy falls in a ditch. Doc tries like shoot him in the head like from a distance, but misses. He eventually kind of shoots him in the shoulder, and he sees some blood. It's like, that's good enough.
Yeah.
And he leaves. Then we see Rudy like slowly coming back to life, and he grabs his gun, and then it's revealed that Rudy was wearing a vest, but he still took a shot in the shoulder. Yeah, in the book, this
is where Rudy becomes very much like the Javier Bardem character.
Yeah,
only has a little more personality, and he's a little more interactive. But yeah, he's very much like what's the guy's name? Not Javier. What was the character's name? Anyway, yeah, the bad guy in No Country for Old Men. He has a weird name because you don't know if he's Mexican, Indian, or American. Like he's has one of those names. Like, what kind of name is that? But I forget what it is.
Anton Chigurh.
Yeah, Anton Chigurh. Like you don't know what kind of name that is. That's either that could be anything.
That's Eastern European Mexico.
India. Yeah. Interestingly, let's talk guns for a minute. Steve McQueen, the hero gun in this movie, is a Colt government model. Notably, though, at the shootout on the ranch, he's firing an Astra or a Star 45 because the Colt governments don't like to shoot blanks. They don't cycle reliably. Their tolerances are too tight. But the Stars look different enough where it's a different gun. But that's why they had to do that.
Yeah, there's stuff for like I don't know if he was like trained a certain way or doing something, but he seems kind of weird the way he shoots the gun. At least here.
Yeah, he's doing like he was probably in the military, I'm assuming, at some
Okay.
point. So they probably did that weird marksmanship type, put your hand through your belt on, and
Yeah.
stabilize. There's no modified Weaver stances going on.
I don't know. Like later on in the thing, he's more like typical shooting going on, I guess.
Yeah.
Um. So cut to Doc and Carol driving. There's a report of the robbery, and it's of them stealing 750,000. And Carol counts the money. It's like there's only 500,000 here, so they're immediately kind of like suspicious of like what's actually going on.
Something seems to be wrong.
They make it through a checkpoint without a problem because they've got a new car now. So and also the report says they're looking for 3 men. So it's like that's one of the reasons they're able to make it through. We cut to Rudy dresses his wounds and vows revenge. This is where he's at the water fountain or whatever. And then we cut to Doc calls Binion, but doesn't. He calls Binion, but it's like his men. But he doesn't say anything to him. He just hangs up and then tells Carol that he talked to it over. Because this is where Doc is getting suspicious. Like, oh, this is a setup. So he's thinking of a different plan now. Also, like this is the same with the book. It's called The Getaway. So you get the robbery out of the way really quickly, and it's all the aftermath of that, which is what this is too. So that's it is an interesting thing where it's like most
it's kind of as advertised.
Yeah.
Most of the movie is The Getaway.
Because most movies, like you have a heist, it's like the entire movie builds towards the heist. Where here, it's not about that. Doc meets with Binion. Binion's mad that people got killed on the job, which seemingly like he wouldn't really care. Then Binion evilly explains that this was like a double setup. Because it's like, oh yeah, like some guys lost money or whatever, and so like we're using we're using a robbery as an excuse to launder money or something like that. It's like, oh no, 750,000 got stolen, and then they would then I guess recover 500,000, and then we just say that the 250,000's in a win somewhere, and that's where they've lost the money or stole the money for themselves or whatever. It's something like that. It's not important, but that's kind of a
Yeah, it's just basically establishes like, it's a room full of lies.
and then Carol shows up behind them holding a gun.
Doc and Carol are gonna have to dance quick to get out of this one. Well, them Duke boys are in trouble now.
Carol seems like she's about to betray Doc, but then she kills Binion instead, and then she's like mouth agape the whole time.
Yeah, she empties like a 32 into the guy. He's an old Colt hammerless.
And then Doc and Carol are on their way, and Doc has to pull over as he's like doesn't know how to handle the situation because he's like, "You were gonna kill me," and he slaps her around, which isn't cool. And then she cries. And also, this 72, so women can't get abortions, nor can they have credit cards. So not a great time for women.
Women couldn't have credit cards in 1972?
Yeah, it wasn't until like 1974 that women were allowed to have credit cards.
Oh, I had no idea.
Did I say two? I meant 74. I can't remember. It was something like that.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like 2 years before I was born. Like that's okay. They want the little ladies to run up the credit card bills. They can't do the math on the interest rate.
Oh yeah, I mean there was weird stuff like you couldn't get a job if you didn't have a reference from your husband in certain places. It's like
Can't drive a car without Can't go out in public unless either your husband or a male relative is with you. Can't go out unescorted.
Yeah,
Wasn't Saudi Arabia still do that until like
Yeah.
2 years ago or something?
Yeah, it's like the 50s are basically Sharia law. They just didn't write down all the things they're using against women.
Oh, okay.
If it's not written down and used against them, it's not illegal. It's just used against them casually. Let's see here. Yeah, she says she can't explain to Doc like or wait, no. Oh, she says she can't explain it, like what's going on here. Like she says, like, Doc, you sent me to Binion, so yeah, this is all your fault. Um,
Oh, and that scene, by the way, she did not realize how hard Steve McQueen was going to hit her
oh, okay.
because he wanted a performance.
Oh, okay.
And he kind of felt bad when he saw how she reacted, but it was like, no, keep rolling, keep rolling. It's great.
It's like the famous freakin' thing where I forget what that was for. He was talking with somebody. He's like, some actor is like, "Do you love me?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Do you trust me?" He's like, "Yeah." And then just slaps him in the fucking face. It's like, now act.
That would work. You could motivate people that way.
Oh yeah.
Just got to be careful. Some of those guys work out. They might be like, "What? Fuck
Yeah.
you."
I don't know. It's just, sometimes it's more dangerous, but you have the stuff like with like Die Hard where it's like you release on 2 when you say you're going to release on 1. It's like 3. And then he's like, oh, it's like so you get a genuine reaction of you're falling to your death.
Oh, okay.
I think that was with Die Hard. They're dropping.
Yeah,
Hans
I think
Gruber.
so. Yeah, because that's why they got such a good reaction out of Alan Rickman,
Yeah.
because he didn't know he was gonna. Which is actually that is one of the best falling scenes ever filmed.
Yeah.
Because you believe it. I mean, it's not not really him, but. Oh, and this movie, by the way, the production of it was nuts.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there were professional stuntmen who'd worked on all kinds of Steve McQueen and Sam Peckinpah movies, and this guy was saying, I've never drank so much and smoked so much weed in my life. He goes, there were some days everyone was in the bag by night. Like they were just done for the day because they said Sam Peckinpah was so drunk he didn't know where he was. But they said in the mornings it was all business.
Yeah.
It was all go 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 until that first bottle's gone. And then everyone's like, wow, what are we doing? Let's fight with each other or something. Yeah, it got pretty wild on the set. I guess that guy, Al Terry, the guy that plays Rudy, like the first time the movie was shown, he got really violent with, I think it was one of the producers. I think it was David Foster. Like he like swung at him. Because I guess Al Terry was actually a very scary guy, like in real life.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was in The Godfather and stuff. Well, he was a Italian guy from New York who spoke Italian fluently, and he's like, yeah, "So do you have anyone in the mob? Al?" He's like, "Yeah, my whole family." Like, yeah. Do you know anyone in the mob? Absolutely, I do. And prove it, like people with the same last name that are in prison, like related to me. Like, oh, so you're like the real deal. And yeah, he was. I guess he had a little problem with the bottle. They say, and he. The drunker he got, the crazier he got. Because if you pay attention in this movie, there's 3 times where he is holding a bottle of liquor while he's acting, like a little pint bottle. If you pay attention, it's like, I don't think that's full of water. I get the feeling this guy's going full method on this drinking thing.
Yeah, let's do another take.
Yeah.
I need a refill. Binion's guys call Binion, and they sense something's wrong when he doesn't answer. Because Rudy heals from getting work from a veterinarian. Rudy has
No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, Rudy
has
different
though.
Yeah, Rudy has a kitten on his chest with his gun as well.
Colt Python, by the way. I think the first time it was in a movie.
Huh. Okay. Binion's boys show up and they start working on chasing down Doc and Carol. The accountant has the boys dump Binion's body down a well. I mean, you don't see it happen, but that's what he says to do. so
yeah, they argue about it because the one guy's like, he should get a proper burial, and the other guy just do what I say. Okay.
Yeah, the dorky guy's in charge now, and and to solidify that, he's like, let's do something evil. I'm in charge.
Now our hands are all covered with blood.
Doc and Carol at the train station, they're getting tickets for El Paso. Carol puts the cash in a lockbox, but like a guy like switches the keys on her, which I knew this from the book. I'm not sure if you picked up on that's what was going on. It's like, oh, a man's helping her with it, but I knew the whole time that this was gonna happen. But
Yeah, well, I figured it was some scam because, first of all, there's nothing in the world that would motivate me to put a bag with $500,000 in it anywhere out of my sight.
yeah,
I understand you don't want to get caught with it, but it's also seems a little like, oh, this isn't good thinking. But it provides something in the story that has to happen.
well, yeah, seemingly she just puts it in a locker because it's getting heavy, which is weird.
Yeah, I don't care how heavy that thing is. I'm gonna take $100 out of it and just get like a cart with wheels.
um. And then we cut to Rudy has a creepy time with Fran, which I'm guessing is the veterinarian's wife.
Yes, and this is a weirdly hot Sally
Oh
Struthers.
yeah.
You don't think of Sally Struthers as hot.
Well, yeah, it's always like a
In this
joke of
movie, she's like, "Whoa, wow."
yeah, because it's always like a joke of her like gaining and losing weight, and like she did those like commercials for like what animals and stuff for like help save this that
Oh, feeding children. The
oh
South
feeding
Park guys really
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so she's yeah. But I would say in this movie she's hotter than Ally McGraw.
Yeah, it's damn close, and it's like
She-
because I when I think of Sally Struthers, I think All in the Family.
yeah.
Like it's Meathead's wife, It's like, and she's more like whiny and high pitched. I mean, she kind of is in this movie too.
Yeah.
But in this movie, she's like, oh wow, this is crazy.
Well, she's got a very pleasant face, so she always has a smile on, and very busty. Which,
Yeah.
when you compare it to Ally McGraw, where she literally has like her nose is like upturned. She has like this upturned nose, and her chin turns up too. And she's really skinny, so it's like I think I like Sally Struthers better.
Yeah.
Just a couple men here reducing women to sex objects and comparing them. But hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, it's when you don't think about it, when all your cultural touchstones are like, oh, Sally Struthers from All in the Family is
Yeah.
like, she's never in her bra and underwear and All in the Family. Like, oh well, I don't get this opportunity.
Yeah, which is probably where all the fat jokes came from, because they're like, you were hot. What happened to you? It's like, I was starving myself the entire time.
Yeah.
I wanted
It wasn't a
something.
natural state of being.
Yeah. When we cut to Doc shows up to get Carol at the station, and here this is where they realize that the money they got conned out of their money. They spot the con. Doc gives chase. Yeah, this is weird about the con man. It's like he takes the bag, apparently doesn't look in it, but hangs around the train station to get his ride.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, it's like Steve McQueen said. He's like, oh, we can probably catch him because he wasn't thinking we were going to be back this soon to check on it.
Yeah.
So he thought he had time. I
Yeah,
guess
I
that seemed
guess.
kind of weird too. But because if I saw something like that and looked in it, it's like, oh, I'm hitchhiking immediately and hell out of here. Because
But I mean, it's implied because he looks at it later on. He's like, he's surprised later on, which implies that he never looked at it in the first place. Which is like, what if you open it up and it's just a bag of clothes? Like, what?
what is this like women's clothes? Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do with that?
Just a couple of bras and like 40 phone books. So yeah, Doc follows the guy onto the train. There's a lot of people like checking for tickets, and a bunch of people are like trying to coordinate. It's like, oh, you can't just hop on here, but like nobody stops Doc.
Yeah. Yeah, this seems like a high-low security area. It's like, well, we're doing all this stuff, but if people just randomly walk in, we don't. Nah, it's fine. We just better have a ticket, and if they don't, then they can just pay at the end of the trip. Which is like, okay.
Yeah, the first ticket checker at the gate, he's just like, I'm gonna go see someone off. He's like, oh, okay. Doc can't find the guy, so he gets off the train.
You could do stuff like this. Remember the airport movie we
Yeah.
watched? It's like, well, that's a whole different universe. that doesn't exist anymore.
So yeah, he's looking for the guy, and he's kind of the guy like hides somewhere in the train. It's like in a weird spot. So Doc is like hopping off and on the train to try to find him, but he ends up staying on the train. This is where the con opens up the bag and realizes like it's a big score, but also he sees the bank name on the notes, and I think he puts it together like, oh, this is that big bank robbery. So
Yeah.
he's very happy and also like, oh man, this is a lot of heat. So he stuffs some um he stuffs some cash in his pockets. Um and then Doc just walks in and beats up the thief with a like the butt of the, or no, he just like elbows him into like every part of his body until he passes out. And then he gets the bag
Like a
back.
brutal beating.
Yeah, yeah, and nobody notices.
Yeah, he's
um,
very quick about it.
then he sits down with the guy, and then the guy checking the ticket comes up, and he says something, but like he doesn't check Steve McQueen for the ticket or whatever. So, or he says something like, "I'm with him. He's got the tickets. He's sleeping. Like, don't bother." I don't know. There's some kids running around playing like cops and robbers, and so they're holding up people with like water pistols, and the kid like shoots Steve McQueen with the water pistol. He's like, "Hey,
In the face, like in his to his face." Oh, by the way, $500,000 in $100 bills would make 12 pounds.
Oh, I thought it'd be way more than that.
Yeah, that's what it said because I just typed that in as a general search.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm used to like some of the like absurd movies where like they get into like, you know, like the bags of cash in Heat, where it's like, oh yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah.
But that's also them taking like millions of dollars. So.
Right.
Let's see here. Cut to some guys show up to get a hotel room at Laughlin Hotels. Oh yeah, I guess this is where the movie ends up. Okay, I guess that makes sense. I think, yeah, right.
Yeah.
This guy says something like, "Yeah, you're allowed a room, but you can't take a lady up there with you," or something like that.
Yeah, it's one of these really like sleazy, like hotels like that don't really exist anymore. Or at least I haven't seen
Well,
one.
he says he can't take a lady up,
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
or is that like a bribe for? It's like you can if you pay me extra or something.
Well, yeah. Apparently, I'm assuming this guy runs like more than just a hotel business.
Okay.
It's kind of like when in No Country for Old Men when Woody Harrelson's like, "Yeah, send up 2 whores and a bottle of whiskey," and the guy's like, "Huh?" It's like, "I'm just."
I miss the good old days. The kid wakes up the thief with his water pistol, and then the thief gets the kid to go get a conductor. Then we cut to Carol sees that Doc came back for her and with the money on hand, so it's just like, oh, money and my husband. Okay.
And for some reason, there's 2 MPs in the film or in the film in the train station that's making her nervous.
Huh. Okay.
Like, I don't know if you noticed that she was always
No.
looking at the MPs because they were MPs, but they were dressed in like very formal uniforms.
Oh, okay. Huh.
So I don't know what that was all about.
I remember one time I was in Texas and I saw like a bunch of Coast Guards like hanging out on a corner, waiting to go somewhere. I was like, "What the hell's this about?" I mean, I guess you have a coast in Texas, but it was like in San Antonio, so that was more central. So I was like, "What the hell? What boats do they got around here?"
Are they guarding what's the big lake in the Lake Travis?
Ah, maybe or
An
the
artificial lake in the middle of Texas.
Let's see here. Yeah, in the book he just kills the guy, and then the kid discovers the guy dead, but like the money falls out of his pockets, and so he comes up. He's like, "Look, I killed the guy. I stopped him." And then he shows a lady like $1,000, and she's like, "What the hell's going on here?" Let's see. Oh yeah, then we cut to Rudy's like still giving chase. He's coming after Doc. He's like holding up the veterinarian as like he's having the veterinary drive them around and like making out with his wife. It's this guy.
Yeah, this is really weird.
Yeah, it's way more interesting here than in the book. In the book, he's just out for revenge. He's just kind of like a weird, like creepy criminal guy or whatever. But here it's like Rudy's like way more interesting because of how weird and creepy it is. Where it's like, well, it's because Fran's like, yeah, like she's like happy about being taken hostage and like having sex with this guy. It's like,
Yeah, she's really into it. And she's wearing headphones that initially I thought is like, is she running like a rotary grinder or something? Oh, those are headphones that music comes through because they're like big, giant, like,
yeah.
yeah. It's like, are those Bluetooth? Where's the sound coming from? It's like, I don't understand.
Then we cut to the thief is at the police station where he's being questioned. They're questioning him about the money. I guess they think he stole the money, so they don't.
Yeah.
And then he ends up getting put in jail anyways for some. Don't they put him in jail? I can't remember.
Yeah. They're interrogating him, and then they're like, lock him up, and it's kind of like, for what? And it's like, I guess this guy has like an extensive history of
Yeah.
petty crimes or whatever.
Then we cut to like Rudy slept with Fran, and the veterinarian is tied to a chair, and like being forced to watch them have sex, essentially. So.
Yeah, what's that called nowadays? There's like it's like a genre of
Cuck.
cuck holding. Yeah.
Um, there's a weird like fake documentary series by Netflix called Kunk Around the World. But that's just a name. I think that's the name of the fake character. It's not Cuck. It's just Kunk. And I'm like, Cuck weirdly sounds worse.
Yeah. What are you doing tonight, Kunkin? Huh?
Oh God! Like, yeah, should I call the cops?
Yeah, don't tell me that, man. I'm going to be a witness now in your trial. Like, don't involve me in your sick stuff. Not even tangentially. Like, no, I'm watching a Netflix series. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were.
Then we cut to Doc goes into an electric store to buy like a portable radio. I think this is the moment where the movie just becomes No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, it just basically like if he walked out of the radio store and the car exploded behind it. It's like, oh, okay, I've seen this.
Then his face is starting to get plastered on the TV, and so then he's like, "Well, the gig is up," and then he goes to the gun shop next door and like steals a shotgun.
It's a hardware store.
Oh, it's a hardware store? Yeah, okay. I guess it's Texas. You sell shotguns everywhere.
Oh yeah, I think they hand you one as you walk into the state. Here's your gun.
I like that he has him wrap it up first, and
Yeah.
he's just stuffing shotgun shells in his pocket. The guy's like not weirded out by that.
I was going to be like the Terminator scene. Like you
Yeah.
can't do that. He's like, now, hey, you got to fill out that form.
Yeah. Yeah, he just really needs that form filled out.
Yeah.
Which presumably wouldn't stop him from getting that gun that day.
No, you just got to put your name on here, and I'm not even going to look at your ID. I'm just going to assume that it's. Well, like, they said the weird thing with Lee Harvey Oswald was he mail ordered that gun. Now this was like 10 years before this. When it's like, oh, he could have just gone into a gun store in Texas and bought that and had not had any paperwork done at the time. Just buy a rifle. So he could have like just bought a rifle if he wanted to. That's why it was weird. It was registered to him and he left it. Because if you bought them through the mail, you had to register them. So they were coming from out of state. But if you bought it in Texas, yeah, it's here you go. Yeah, they didn't even ask. Yeah, so that's a weird like thing with the Kennedy assassination. Is like, oh, if he was going to leave that gun behind and planned on getting away with it, he could have just bought that gun anywhere, just left it up there and just walked out. And they wouldn't have, if they ran the serial numbers. It's like, oh, it was sold to a hardware store, or something. It's like we don't track. I think handguns were tracked, but not long arms.
Okay. Yeah, because I imagine here, like even he's like a felon, like he can't have a gun, but this guy didn't seem to be a problem to him. So.
Yeah, just fill out that form there, put in there whatever you want to. That's all that form does is cover my ass. Yeah, I like how he just like fills his pockets with shotgun shells, and this guy's still like just wrapping it up.
Well, obviously he's not going to do anything. I'm wrapping it in brown paper.
Yeah, I just like to carry shotgun shells in the pocket of my sport coat.
I mean, he does pull his handgun on him, so
yeah. Eventually, when he asks him about the form one more time, he pulls the handgun out. I was like, you know what this is? It's like, yeah. Go ahead and wrap it up. Keep wrapping it up. So you're gonna let me keep my hands down near the counter? Okay, cool.
But yeah, I don't, at this time I don't even know if like his felon thing would even pop up. He'd probably have to sell him the gun. Although yeah, modern modern felons. Well, actually, I don't. Yeah, I don't know if the like if you're ever a felon, you can never own a handgun. Is there a way around that?
No, I don't think you can own
Okay.
firearms.
Oh
Period.
no, you can.
I think you can own black powder
Yes, you
stuff.
can own
Yeah.
black powder. You can own whatever you had on a pirate ship. That's what you can own as a felon.
Which would be interesting at least. It's like he's coming. He's gonna shoot at us. Hold on. Click, click, click. Pop. You know, it's that weird delay before it all goes off. That's yeah.
Yeah, the cops show up, but the cops show up because the electronic stores guy called, and then as he leaves the hardware store, he calls the cops. But there's not a second round of cops that show up. It's just this first round. He goes out and he shoots the tire of the cop car, and then he shoots it up some more. He has them, holds them up and has them get down, throw their guns, and he just shoots the shit out of this car.
The thing I like about how that scene is framed, though, when he first comes out and he just flips the gun over and just starts loading it and racks it back and fires, like you don't see what he shoot. You think, oh, did he just shoot those cops?
Yeah.
And then the camera swings over and you see the back tire go flat, and it's like, oh, okay, so he's not quite that ruthless yet.
And it's still in the wrapping paper, so he basically, when he fires a shotgun, it just blows off the wrapping paper. So.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always operating the weapons in this movie. Like he's always loading that, because I think that's a high standard 12 gauge. I think those only hold like 5 shots.
Oh, okay.
So he's loading it quite a bit, and they do show that sometimes, which is cool.
Yeah, this is like this is like a bit more like I feel like a lot of the action around this time is still a lot of duck behind stuff and then like do some automatic fire and then duck back into frame. But this is like a lot more of a modern like, oh no, like this gun is a chess piece. We need to maneuver here and here and that stuff, which I feel like movies at this time did not do that.
No, Sam Peckinpah was known for like, oh, we're reloading guns. We're, this is all the later stuff for Michael Mann and shit is like, yeah, that's what we got to reload the guns. They're a tool that works in a certain way. They don't have endless magazines. 6-shot revolvers don't fire 50 times. You got to reload them. It takes time to reload them. Your eyes are off your enemy when you're reloading. That's when you're weak with a gun. That's when you're reloading.
Nah, the guy just reloads when you're blinking.
Yeah. Speed load. Like those guys on YouTube that do the thing where they drop the magazine and have the second one in before the first one hits the ground. It's like, cool trick. Try that under pressure. I want to see that. I want to see when the drywall is exploding around you if you can do that ninja stuff. Yeah. I mean, if you can, cool, great.
Pull out your concealed carry with a flare magwell.
Yeah. Like a 5-pound handgun.
There's like a weird driving exchange with Carol where it's like she kind of like starts taking off and backs the car into him.
Just knocks him over, yeah.
Which I don't know if this is a mistake or like oh, she's about to like leave him. But
I think there's a lot of she's communicating displeasure in their relationship at this point. It's like you're shooting up the town.
Yeah.
You just executed a police car. I don't know if this is the marriage for me.
Yeah. They ditch the car and get on a bus. Then we cut to like they're somewhere in Texas. Carol bought a new car. He's like, "How much you pay for that?" She's like, $2,800, and he seems disappointed. It's like, you have a car. Who cares?
That would be $34,000 in today's money.
Well, I'm not even sure what kind of car is. Like, is that a new car or was that a bad car for that time?
Let me see. I have. Where was?
I think they said it was
to
a
the
gray
Internet
Mercury
Movie Car Database.
Okay.
Because it is a weird one. Because it's a. It comes later. Because they were in an Impala.
Well, this is the gray Mercury, I believe.
Yeah.
At least that's what I heard the cops say.
Says exactly what it is here. Mercury Monterey, 1968.
Huh, okay. So that's fairly new.
Yeah, it would have been within 2 years.
Plus, I don't know. I don't know how fast those cars deteriorated back then.
very quickly.
it
They're
is
not.
it is Texas, so it'd probably survive better than in like a Midwest situation.
Yeah, yeah. Those. I mean, those. The problem with those cars are just terrible to drive.
Yeah.
Because you could see even in the movie those big square body frame on body cars, like when she's trying to turn into stuff, like the whole car's fighting you. It's nothing. That's why I always like these people that do these, like, I'm driving a Porsche from the 1970s with a turbo on it. That when you press the gas, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the turbo. You're like, there's nothing smooth about it. Hey, Bailey. Bailey, did you get a sweater? Come here. Time for a sweater dog break. Come here, Bailey. Come here. Come here. Oh, she's too dumb. Come here. Let me see your sweater. Look, a dog in a sweater. Hi. Are you happy with your sweater? Got a hole in it for a harness. That's neat.
Huh.
Well, this is my dog. She's been on the podcast before.
Her worrying aura comes up.
Now have Conlon show us Mango.
Yes, let's see Mango now. Just grab him and he'll be like, ah! I hate everything.
She picks up Doc and they head to Mexico. There's a lady on the bench. She like sees that like the newspaper. It's like, oh, that's him, and then she just drinks his Coke and doesn't think anything about it. So it's like,
yeah, she's not. I'm not getting involved with these gringos.
We cut to Rudy's eating ribs in the car, and then they end up having a rib food fight. This is a weird scene. I don't know. Every scene with Rudy's a weird scene. So.
Yeah, this guy's just a menacing psycho. He's one of those bullies. It's like, yeah, this is fun. Now it's not fun, and it gets really serious, and like someone's getting a plate to the back of the head. Like, I'm not having fun anymore. I'm a big dangerous baby with a 357 Magnum.
We cut to Doc and Carol like are at some getting some drive-in food. Meanwhile, Rudy's playing with Fran in a hotel somewhere. We cut back to the cops recognize Doc and Carol, and then Doc starts shooting up every cop car.
Well, no, the roller girl waitress.
Oh,
yeah, because they're talking with the cooks and all the other waitresses, because it's one of those drive-up things where they hang the stuff on the window, and she's like pointing at the newspaper and pointing at them, and the next thing you know, here come the cops.
Which Doc is just an expert, like a sniper with a shotgun. It's like he's just like he can shoot that shotgun anywhere. It's gonna hit a cop car.
Yeah.
Is this
He's
about
fire a 12 gauge shotgun off inside a car through its back window, and take out a police car, and give orders to Carol, always telling Carol, punch it, baby, punch it. It's like, I think she's trying.
Is this the one where like he shoots like the grill and then just like gasoline spills out through the front? Or no, I guess it wouldn't be
radiator fluid.
Yeah. Which that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Again, this is one of those movies where it's like, the shotgun has been like, what do they call that? Like it's like the Halo handgun from the first Halo. It's like way overpowered. Like, shotgun's going to take out armored vehicles in this movie. Just incredibly powerful.
Then we cut to...
But he fires into the windshield of a police car. It shatters, and the police car crashes. It's like, oh, he hit someone in the head. He just sprayed double aught buck all over that windshield. Then the cops both come back up. Of course, they're pulling out their pistols, and they're doing the 1970s. They're doing some 1970s police pistol work where it's like pow, 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 pow. They're like, you're not even back on the target. You're kind of firing in an upward arc.
Then we cut to like they hide out in a dumpster, which is
weird. The cleanest dumpster in the world.
Yeah, this is almost like half the book. It's like they find some farm that's gonna, in the book they find a farm that'll help them hide out, but then they have to hide out what they call it water holes, which I'm just like, oh, so like a well or just like a pond or something.
Places for animals to circle around and drink, I'm guessing.
But this makes it seem like it's a cave made by water, but like it's so dangerous that like animals don't even go inside of it. I don't know.
This is a Sarlacc pit. What are they talking about?
It's weird because like in the book, the people are talking about like, here's your sleeping pills, and the Carol's like, I don't need those. It's like, oh honey, you don't know what's going on. Like everybody knows what happens here. You take sleeping pills and you sleep in the waterhole cave, and it's like, what? It's like I had no context for what was happening to the situation. It must have been just something from the 50s.
I'm going to YouTube after this, like Texas waterhole sleeping. It's like, we're chopping up Xannies. It's time to sleep in the waterhole. Feral hogs will eat you. It's like, huh?
Because they talk about like, well, you gotta sleep where you gotta hide out in a difficult place so nobody comes after you. So there's that, and then at some point they have to like sleep in like a manure like hole or something like that where they store the manure. And that's
okay,
extra.
I've actually seen those. I don't know what those are.
So that's like, yeah, and but then that was, but like again, that was like, it's like, oh yeah, this smells like shit, but like this is preferable to the weird contortionism of the waterhole cave or whatever.
Yeah, who knows what like scorpions are going to be crawling up your ass in there.
But yeah, that was a weird thing from the book. Let's see where
But here they actually like, they find dumpsters, but it's like, oh, is it behind a clothing factory?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's just got a bunch of like strips of clothing in it. So yeah, it's not like the Chinese food restaurant dumpster.
Yeah, you're not hiding out. It's like, oh, we're not gonna go into the guts and butts dumpster.
And then yeah, they're hiding down there, and they get tossed. The garbage truck comes up and tosses them in the back, which. And then the crusher starts moving, which is always a nightmare of mine because it was always left up to your imagination as to how these garbage trucks work. So this is a pretty interesting thing. I'm wondering if this served as inspiration for Star Wars.
Yeah, I was waiting for Steve McQueen to get on and like tell R2 to shut off all the garbage. So they're gonna like try to put stuff up.
Shut off all the trash compactors on the detention level. But I guess, I don't know, I guess in those like Republic serials there's plenty of like, you know, we're searching a tomb and the walls close in. That's probably more what they were referencing. But
yeah, it still works. I mean, it's just like a big hydraulic thing. It's like, well, I'm dead. I can't stop this.
Yeah, because like you follow them as like there's more, like, because they do the full thing where it's like, here's the full extension, or at least the driver stops the full extension before they're crushed to death. But then you go through like a couple more moments of him picking up more trash, and it's just like more trash being pushed into them. It's like, I don't think they're gonna make it.
Yeah, I think they're dead.
Then we cut to morning. Rudy finds the veterinarian has hung himself in the bathroom, which he's.
Oh yeah, I remember. I was watching this. I don't remember this. And then I see, and I'm like, what? I had to rewind it. I was like, wait a minute. And not only does he like see the guy hang, but he just sits down on the toilet and proceeds to do his business, reading the paper, and a dead man is hanging next to it. And I was like, oh, that's extra weird. I forgot about that. No one really seems too upset about it.
Yeah, no. Even
his wife is like, well, problem solution,
which
maybe the Lord provides.
Which maybe he never told her about it. Maybe they just left. It's like, I think your husband left, and they just left.
That could be. I don't know. It's so dark and weird at that point. It's like, oh wow.
Like the when they're in the garbage, I guess it said morning, but yeah, the garbage truck stuff all at night. Then we got to the garbage truck, it's morning, so it's like, I don't know how do they do garbage pickup at midnight in Texas? So it's dropping off all the trash at the dump, and you can and when they open up the doors, like, it's fully compact. It's like, well, obviously they're dead, but eventually as they're dumping more trash out, they come tumbling through.
Yeah, they seem disorientated.
Yeah. They shelter in like a half car as the debris falls down a hill. So but they're alive and free. But Carol's really pissed. So
As
Doc's
one would be.
yeah, Doc's trying to be like hopeful, but he's like, yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. There's no plan to fix all this.
Still have a suitcase full of money.
Yeah.
But now, like, every law enforcement agency in in Texas is looking for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a free kill zone for them, so everyone's rushing to get in. It's like
It's like the Hitcher. Like, there's just going to be this parade of police cars.
They make some kind of promise to each other, and then they leave the burning dump.
Yeah. This weird post-apocalyptic scene of them walking away because they're still dressed in nice clothes, but they're ruined.
Yeah. I mean, then it's now we have Act 3. Rudy gets a hotel with Fran. Rudy holds a gun up to the hotel clerk, and I forget that this is the guy from before. I forget the guy's name. It's like, so he wants him to be notified when Doc shows up. So this guy knows who Doc is. So, Binion guys get word from Rudy. There's a guy that's been tracking down Rudy. Because they think like, well, wherever Rudy goes, he'll probably find Doc. So now everyone's converging together for the climax.
Yeah.
Cut to Doc takes a room at the hotel. The clerk, then when he walks away, the clerk warns Rudy. He also says something like, "Yeah, the whole room, you got the whole floor to yourself." So I don't know if he bought out every room or if he was just like, that was just something to tell him to try to put him at ease or something. Doc and Carol enjoy some time together, but like as soon as he's like kind of like reflecting on happiness, he's like, "Wait a minute, it's like everything's wrong." So So they start to like move out, and then we get Fran is like knocking at the door, trying to get them to come to the door, while Carol and Doc are like working on an escape route. Doc just kind of like works his way through a next door room and gets out behind them. And he just knocks Rudy out with the butt of the gun. He also punches the screaming Fran.
Yeah.
And Doc's just like Doc's holding the gun up to an unconscious Rudy and is about to blow his head off, but for some reason doesn't. I guess like it's not honorable enough. I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think it's like, yeah, you can have that one's on you. You can actually have that one. That guy's pretty evil. But.
Then we cut to the Binion boys are torturing the clerk for Doc's whereabouts, but then Doc just like comes down the stairs. Also, yeah, Doc, he took his gun and like threw it in another room and like threw the bullets away. But yeah, Doc comes downstairs and then he opens fires on the Binion boys, and then they like retreat back up the stairs. As one guy like has like submachine gun.
Smith & Wesson M76.
Oh, okay.
Which was made for the U.S. Special Forces to use in Vietnam because the Swedes wouldn't sell us some kind of gun they were buying off of them to boycott the Vietnam War, so we had to make our own submachine gun.
Okay.
It wasn't very good or well received, but it's weird in this movie because I think it's the only machine gun featured in this movie. And he, of course, just empties a magazine and hits nuts, Stormtrooper style.
Yeah.
I got the best gun in the room, can't hit anything.
Yeah,
and then I'm going to stand in the open and reload and take a shotgun blast because I didn't go into cover to reload. But maybe I think I'm just so overwhelmed by the power of my Smith & Wesson M76. It's one of those stamped metal guns that everyone thought was going to be like, these are really cheap to make and they're going to be great. And then no one wants them because they don't have any long-term viability. They just rust.
Yeah. Well, they're probably collectible now. You never know.
They only made 1,200 of them.
Oh,
and
okay.
About half of those made it to the Army.
Oh, okay.
The rest of them, I think all of them wound up in the Army. It's fully automatic, so they wouldn't be floating around. At least I hope not.
Well, if they're pre like the 74 or whatever date that is, where they cut off machine guns.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be overturned pretty soon, I heard.
We'll see.
We'll see. I got my fingers crossed. Because God knows I can't wait to be like, hey, honey, I'm going to spend $50,000 to acquire a fully automatic weapon.
Yeah, I think I'll be able to have a bump stock and a fully auto weapon before women can have abortions again.
That's right. This is progress. This is the dream of America. I mean, I can't even. I can't even afford to shoot the guns I have that are normal. Like, how am I going to feed a fully automatic weapon? Good news, you can, and like I said, they cost like $30,000 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if they became like if all you needed was a stamp, they would probably come down in price because of scalability. But it would take one time, and believe me, someone's going to do it, and they'll be like, "No, this is not a good idea." It's like, duh, I could have told you that. I'm pro gun. It's like that's not fully automatic weapons. The general public, no, 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 no. That's not a good idea. I don't care what anyone says. That's not a good idea. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it happened and I could take advantage of it, I would definitely probably go shoot one, rent one, spend some time with it. I'd spend like $1,000 doing that, and they're like, "Well, I got it out of my system."
Yeah, there's like that place in Vegas where they have like a selection of stuff you can shoot. Like I always thought about doing that, um, but like I just don't want to spend the time to go that far to do that. But it'd be a neat. You can like they even have like a selection of stuff where it's like shoot all the guns from Counter-Strike, and it's like yeah, that'd be neat.
Yeah, the one I saw was like the weapons of World War II.
Oh, okay.
Like they had the Thompsons, like from that era. They had the oh, I forget. Well, most of the guns in World War II you can actually buy and use because
Yeah.
most of them weren't fully automatic. Because like Garand, like you can buy those all day long. If you can't find bullets for them anymore, but you can buy guns. Actually, they make those now. They fire 30-06 shells.
Huh.
That's something else. But I've heard bad things like, yeah, it's jam happy because it's shooting a bullet this long. It's like, well, yeah.
There's more firefights. Doc kills a couple more guys. We have the accountant is like in the elevator, like moving between floors to try to like I don't know cut off Doc or something.
Yeah.
But then Doc just shoots the cable and the elevator just kind of drops and the accountant just kind of dies. I don't know. Wasn't very effective.
It's spinal compression that gets you, I heard. Yeah. I don't know why. It wasn't an impressive death.
No.
Like his legs didn't shoot up through his shoulders or something. Like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it didn't turn into like the scene from Who Framed Roger Rabbit when the elevator goes too fast.
Yeah, I was hoping for that. It's like, here we go. And they're going to play like some Roadrunner music.
Yeah, I thought he just kind of looked, he fell down. I thought he was just going to like walk staggered out of the elevator and just get blasted in the face for like, so they make their way out through the fire escape. Rudy's awake and he's awake now, but he went in time to go happened to go find the room with his gun and gather up all the bullets to get out on this fire escape to shoot after Doc and Carol, but then just like Doc I think just shoots him with a pistol in the chest and he's dead, and that's it. That's Rudy's done for the movie. So.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's the poetic is the unpoetic death for the character you thought was going to have the most poetic death.
Yeah, you thought he was going to go down cool, like it's going to be in a blaze of glory.
Nope,
no,
just
really.
awkwardly on a fire escape.
Yeah, just trying to single hand a 357. And he failed. It's like, get both hands around that thing. You could have hit him.
I think one of the Binion boys is like the younger guy of the group, and Doc, he tries to stop Doc, and Doc just convinces the young guy to run away, and so he doesn't kill him. Just makes his character more complicated. I don't know. Like, look, I don't want to kill you, even though I've just killed like 5 people.
Yeah.
They hijack Slim Pickens, who seems to be really excited to be part of the getaway. He's like, all right.
Well, he's with a guy who's drinking whiskey directly from a bottle.
Yeah.
And they're like just like scrap guy. They're like what you'd call scrappers nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're, I think they're probably doing the same thing back then. They're just getting like scrap metal and stuff in an old truck.
Yeah.
And Steve McQueen tells him, drive that way. It's all right. And it's always just Slim Pickens is always the same person, whether he's flying a Strato Fortress to Russia or doing scrap metal. All right, here we go.
Yeah, I didn't even write his character's name because when your name's Slim Pickens, you call him Slim Pickens.
He's called the Cowboy. He doesn't have it's just like, just get Slim to do Slim.
Yeah, I like that they hijack the truck and the other guy's like, do you want me to come with? They're like, no.
Nah. Yeah, he just pulls out his bottle.
And then we cut to Slim drives away. First they hit a bump and like half the crap falls off the truck, but they're driving away and he's like Slim Pickens like waxing on about like relationships and what they mean and like he's have like his life and stuff like that. Um, and so they later on they like him so much that they give him 30 grand to buy his truck and send him on his way.
Yeah, because you don't know how this is going to go. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, is this going to be Mickey and Mallory Knox? Or are they
Yeah.
going to leave the one guy left? Or are they just going to get out of the truck? Don't look back. Don't look at me. And they're going to shoot him in the back of the head. But it's not that dark of a movie. So.
No, they give him 30. Well, he says like he's like, how much did you make last year? He's like 5 grand. Is like, I'll give you 10. And then he jokingly says like, how about 30? And then they give him 30 grand.
Well, no, he says, how about 20?
Oh.
And then Ally McGraw says, let's make it 30. She likes the guy because he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's just like, he says, I've been in trouble with the law before. And, I've been married 30 years and she's tough as an old boot, but I love her, So he's like kind of this endearing guy.
Yeah.
Who's like, this is fun, I know how to get into Mexico real easy. And, I got criminal skills too. I just pretend to be naive, but I'm going to try to double your price.
I didn't see nothing. Where'd all that money come from? I said I didn't see nothing. They take the truck and drive off to Mexico, and that's the end of the movie, which is incredibly different from the book, where they have like once they get put in the water holes and stuff, it's very weird and becomes a completely different like book, where it's like almost like some kind of weird like horror movie, and like they make their way to like, oh, was it, they call it like El Paso, not El Paso, it's like they call it like El Rey, Mexico or something like that, which might be a real place, I'm not sure. And then it just becomes like this weird, like almost like dreamlike world where like talking about how like this place basically just drains criminals who run there to like spend their money. And then they also talk about like a cannibal.
It's like criminal Las Vegas.
Yeah. But everything's still expensive because they know everyone's a criminal with money. And then there's like a cannibalistic like villagers like nearby, so it's like you got to be spending your money and stay in El Rey, or else they'll send you to the cannibals and kill you.
So just basically every atavistic, horrible fantasies Americans have about Mexico anyway. Yeah. Just, okay, cool.
And then you have criminals who are like losing money. It's like, oh, if I lose money, the cannibals are going to get me. So they start killing other criminals to get the money from them. And Carol and Doc like planned on killing each other because it's almost like a space movie where it's like, we don't have enough resources, so somebody's got to die. But then they like
Twilight Zone ending to
yeah and then they kind of like declare love for each other when they realize like they were gonna commit themselves to death, and so they kind of like come back together, but they're still like, and then that kind of ends ambiguously like that they've survived this, and it's like, no, they didn't. So
they join the cannibals and become cannibals themselves. And they have great cannibal sex in the woods.
So they went with a happy ending for the movie here, which I guess for a Sam Peckinpah movie is a kind of a churn. So.
Well, this was kind of different for a Sam Peckinpah movie, because this movie was produced by First Artists, which was a production company that Paul Newman, Barbara Streisand, Sidney Poitier, and Steve McQueen and Justin Hoffman started, so they could produce their own movies and get better deals out of them. This is why Steve McQueen had final cut on this movie and not Sam Peckinpah.
Okay.
Because Steve McQueen told Sam Peckinpah, I don't trust, what did he say? You don't have good commercial instincts anymore. Because the previous movies he'd made with Sam Peckinpah, they progressively lost or were less and less successful.
Yeah.
And Steve McQueen was like, hey, I got to buy race cars and stuff and fund this alcohol-fueled insane lifestyle I have. And I'm not getting enough money from making your movies. So, not only did Steve McQueen get final cut on this movie, but he got 10% of the back end, which at that time he got $3 million, which was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
And this led to kind of a rift between him and Sam Peckinpah.
Oh, okay.
Which they later tried to, because once Sam Peckinpah found out that Steve McQueen was dying of cancer, wrote him a letter, which you can read online. It's kind of sad. But it's like, yeah, we should have never let that come between us. We should get together and do one more movie before it's too late. But of course, it was too late. Steve McQueen died in 1980 of cancer. But yeah, that was this was kind of a one of a kind movie for Sam Peckinpah because he had full creative control, but he didn't have final cut.
Huh.
And it was Steve McQueen specifically wrote that in. If you want my company or to produce this, it's like I get final cut. And
which seemed weird because like the beginning of it is cut so weird and like off-puttingly that I figured that was a Peckinpah choice.
well, he wanted Sam Peckinpah to make the movie. Like he had confidence in his ability to make a movie. He just didn't want it to get so esoteric and strange throughout that it just like alienated the audience. But it's like, yeah, we could have some of that because people expect that from these kind of his movies. But we can't let it become the dominant thing.
That's always the thing. Like if you watch like the original cut of Star Wars, it's like, oh yeah, like George Lucas needs an editor.
Yeah, editing's made Star Wars work.
Because he can put together a lot of scenes that like, if you put it together right, it's amazing. But if you put it together the way he envisioned, it's kind of like languishing and boring.
Yeah, if you could erase your memory and just be shown the first cut of Star Wars and having no idea, you would hate it. You would be like, oh, this is terrible. You would never, everyone would be like, remember that weird movie that came out in 79 and like never took off? And it's like, oh yeah, it had a lot of cool visuals, but yeah, it was just a mess.
Yeah, they did a remake of this movie with Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger, which I think they were married at the time. I can't remember. So didn't they get married?
I think they were, yeah.
So I've never seen it. I didn't even watch the trailer for this movie. It's rated less than this movie, so I think this one is like 7.3 on Internet Movie Database, and the 90s one is like 5.6. So it's probably fine, but you know, whatever.
It's kind of hard to follow that.
Yeah. But I've never seen it. I didn't know it existed, but I didn't know this existed either. So you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. I guess this is, yeah. This has a great third act, which I feel like saves the movie from the.
It does. It stretches out like taffy in the middle a little bit.
Yeah.
The intro, you're kind of like, oh, cool, but now we're getting into the story. It's like, yeah, the thing with the deer and the machines running. I really liked it because I could relate immediately to that kind of the evil power of boredom.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna stick my head in this machine. You know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it does. The third act definitely, you're right, saves this movie. And it also makes me think of other movies.
Yeah. As watching this, like, this is basically No Country for Old Men, and
yeah, it makes me realize that like maybe I shouldn't crucify myself for not being wholly original in all my thinking, because then I no, nobody else is either. Okay. Not everyone can be J.R.R. Tolkien, you know. Sometimes you have to like borrow what other people do and make it your own thing.
Yeah. We're sending a probe into space containing the supercut of scenes from the imperfect collection that is the Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what scene from this movie are we chucking into space?
We're gonna the shootout in the middle of the town.
Okay.
Because that's when the movie starts. That's when that's when the roller coaster has reached its apex and it's going to start rolling downhill. Because if you think about like all the action that happens after that, culminating in the hotel scene shootout, it's like, yeah, it's pretty good. You know, that's pretty fast. They stepped on the gas at that point.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So we have a letterbox account. You can find us VHE. So 1 out of 5 stars. What do we give The Getaway? 1972's The Getaway.
I'm gonna give it 4.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a solid 4. Because there's a lot to see in this. There's a lot to enjoy about this. There's a lot of things,
but it's not perfect. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something like, oh, watch this, it'll change your life. But it's more like, now you can see like how other cooler things that came later started with this,
Yeah.
which is really interesting if you've watched. And you don't have to be like deep into weird movies to get this. It's like, oh, well, most of the popular movies of the last 15 years, you can relate to this in some way. And really, with almost any Sam Peckinpah film, you can do that.
Yeah. Nihilism seems to has its relevance extends longer than optimism. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's you. I mean, you know it when you see it, and you kind of see. You feel dirty inside. It's like, oh, I like this.
Well, if you like what you heard, and how couldn't you? You can find us at verhoeveneffect.com. You can we have listener support there where you can support us at a monthly stipend of either 99 cents, 49 or $9.99. Cancel anytime. Whatever podcast platform of your choice you're listening on, you can rate our podcast. You can rate us whatever you want, but remember, they only listen to the highest rating, and you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. You can also find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect, Facebook Verhoeven Effect. Find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory and watch both this and that show live and unedited. And we have t-shirts at belowthecollar.com/Greed Factory until January.
Yeah, get them in for Christmas, guys, because it's going to be your last chance.
The
store is closing.
yeah, you can get 20% off right now. They're having to close. They're going out of business / Black Friday sale, so you can get 20% off. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.